Welcome to the Counselor Advocacy for the Jewish University Experience Jewish Student Fair. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. My name is Charlotte and I will be your facilitator. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. You can use your Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website. This presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/Jewish Student Fair. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenter, Sheryl Korelitz.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. Having so many people registered for this session at a college fair is really wonderful. I'm so glad to see that so many of you are interested in finding out more about Gap Year. I want to introduce myself. I am Sheryl Korelitz, Director of Gap Year Recruitment for Masa North America. A little bit of background: before I took this position, I was for many years the Director of College Guidance in a Jewish high school. So I worked with students and their families in making post-high school decisions. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I want to tell you a little something that I think actually pertains to your life. I think most of you are almost rising seniors, which is a very exciting place to be in your life. And about a year after I began my role in the high school, I made a pledge. And this pledge was outside of having any professional interaction with high school seniors. I said I was never going to ask high school seniors the following questions. I wasn't going to ask where they were going next year. I wasn't going to ask where they applied, what their major was, or even the worst question in the world: what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And the reason that I took that pledge is I think it's probably pretty obvious to you. It can be a really stressful time. Those questions are stressful. And to be honest, they're a little rude. But you're going to get those questions. People ask them of you, and I understand why they do. You're at this point in your life, that transitional point, when you're doing something in the plan. Because I feel that seniors become a little bit like their plan. That's it. People want to know where you're going and your next step. And I mention this because Gap Year isn't usually part of that plan. And what I want to talk about a little bit with the beginning of this presentation is why you might want to make Gap Year part of your plan. And it isn't really the norm. It hasn't been the norm, but that's absolutely been changing. And COVID, of course, is one of the reasons that happened. And I'm sure you all know why people didn't want to do their freshman year on Zoom. And so that was the initial change during COVID. But what we've seen is that the numbers are really holding. In 2020-21, Masa saw a 40% increase, but the numbers are still there. And that says a lot, because people are finding that the Gap Year is a really great thing to do, and that COVID sort of, pushed things along. So I want to talk to you about the plan. And I also, for any of the parents out there, I want to say that I am the proud mother of 2 Masa Gap Year alumna. And so I still have 1 college student, so I'm really in the thick of all of this. And I can tell you that high school in 2022 is really not like what our experience was like. So this plan that we have of graduating high school, graduating college, going to professional school, getting a professional degree, getting a mortgage, getting married, having 3 kids and a dog and whatever, all of that, and doing it as quickly as possible, it isn't necessarily the norm anymore, and it isn't necessarily the best plan for the realities of what's going on in the world today. So let's get started. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, it looks like it is working. So let's get going. I gave you all of my, I told you who I was. Now what I want to do is I'm sharing, because I'm distracted, I'm putting in the chat. I just put in my Calendly link, and I'm also going to put in my email so that you have it. Okay, you have both of those things. And I want to encourage you at any point in your your gap year search, reach out to me. And really, if you're in the beginning, if you're even at the end, any questions that you have, it's really what I love to do. So feel free to do that, whether you're a parent, whether you're a student, reach out to me with questions or even to schedule an appointment. And it's truly my favorite thing. And you'll find that you have all sorts of little questions and none of them are too small and none of them are too big. So I want to start with why gap year. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. And then afterwards, I'm going to talk to you about Masa, because Masa plays a really important part in your gap year. And I want to let you know about that so that people are a little confused. And it's important to get some of those details too. Okay, so why might you want to take a gap year? I want to address some of the myths that are out there, and I want to talk about positives, maybe some of the negatives you've heard. I want to cover the whole bases. We're going to do it, all the bases. We're going to do it really quickly. I want to start with something that people are usually very surprised to learn. First of all, people are very surprised to learn that gap year alumni have higher GPAs than their peers who never did a gap year. And in addition, they tend to finish college in less time than their peers who did not do a gap year. And in less time, that means they finish in 4 years. This is one of those things I want to tell you about the plan, about that typical journey that everybody talks about. Just so you know that 50%, a little over 50% actually, of American undergraduates take 6 years or longer to complete their undergraduate degree. So that 4 years is not the norm anymore, but people who do gap year do tend to finish quicker. And the reason they're doing is that they arrive on campus refreshed, focused, and ready to go in ways that people who go straight from high school are not. Now, when it comes to your career, it seems strange to be talking about your career and you haven't even finished high school yet, but there are a lot of advantages that gap year alumni find when they get to campus. One of them is that they're very focused even on a major. Over 80% of gap year alumni said that the experience helped them choose a major. It also said that they felt that it led to career success, which is pretty incredible considering the amount of time that it took between the gap year and when they started getting their first jobs. It is a resume builder for many reasons, but one of them is that you're doing internship and volunteering experience. You can always put that on your resume, but also it's a global experience. Employers love that. And so they want to see that, especially it's not the norm for American kids to have international experience. And that is something that you get to show for it. And by doing these internships and having real life experience, it definitely helps you figure out what you like to do, what you're good at, and that will help you focus on choosing a major in college. I want to address the idea of whether universities like gap year or not. It comes up a lot in conversations that I have with parents and students. They're worried that universities are going to think badly about them if they decide to defer their freshman year after they get accepted, especially if it's their dream school. So I want to tell you, first of all, that universities absolutely like gap year and are very receptive to gap year, so much so that many selective schools have started their own gap year programs. Princeton, Tufts, American University, Duke, they all have their own gap year programs now. And the reason they do that is because they know that students, when they get to campus after a gap year, they experience academic, social success to a degree that others do not, as well as they have fewer mental health issues. So they're very enthusiastic about them. The thing you do need to know is that deferral has not usually been an issue, and it still probably is not an issue. What we're finding, mostly because of COVID and how it's affected the college application process, is that colleges are not as ready to accept college credit that's earned on a gap year. And also, if you have scholarships, they're not as willing to renew scholarships if you defer for a gap year. Those are issues that are popping up. But in general, taking the actual deferment for a gap year has not been a problem. There's certain schools that won't do it, the UC system. You just have to know. So you have to, be aware of the process and also speak directly with your college counselor. Do not wait to talk about gap year after you've gone through the college application process. It should be part of it. Your college counselor needs to know that, and it'll make the process much easier. There's no need to keep it a secret. Gap year is something that a lot of students are doing now. Universities are used to it. College counselors are used to it. So make sure that you're sharing that information. some of the benefits of taking a gap year are pretty obvious, but you'd be amazed at how enthusiastically the Gap Year alumni talk about certain things like their life skills. It's the most amazing part for them because you're doing your laundry, you're going grocery shopping, you're cooking, you are developing financial literacy because you have to do a budget. Time management skills are developed because you have to get to your internship or your volunteer position. You have to learn to live with a roommate. You develop an entirely new cohort of friends. You're taking public transportation. All of these things are life skills that are going to translate directly to your college experience, but also just to life in general. And it's great to learn them with this new group of friends. And also it's in a much more fun environment and less stressful than it might be if you just learn it when you are have the pressures of the academics of college. And then there's the personal development piece. This is about personal growth. And I can tell you overwhelmingly, this is one of my favorite statistics. This comes from the Gap Year Association, which is a great organization. And I can tell you more about that if you want. Anyway, this is one of my favorite statistics that 98% of Gap Year alumni said that taking a gap year gave them maturity and self-confidence. And I think that speaks for itself. That's a really important statistic to be aware of. So resilience, self-confidence, maturity, all those things are going to happen. You're living in a foreign country and you are being challenged in ways that you would not in any other situation. Then there's the other sort of personal growth. And I want to talk about the Jewish growth. Your Jewish students, you're going to Israel. It's a very important part of the year. But one of the things that comes up very often is that people feel that these programs might be telling them that they have to live Jewishly in a particular way, that they have to think about Judaism in a particular way, that they have to have one particular attitude about Israel. And that is not the case. And I want you to understand that these programs are not interested in any of that. They're not interested in ideologies and inculcating you with particular information. What they want to do is they're showing you lots of experiences and they're showing you the whole country. They're like introducing you to people from all different backgrounds. Plus your cohort is probably going to be coming from different backgrounds in different countries, which is an amazing part of the year. You're going to have lots of conversations. You're going to be involved in informal learning and seeing the realities of Israel on the ground. So you're going to take ownership of your Judaism. In addition, you're going to experience Israel for yourself and you'll develop your own point of view. And not that these programs are advocacy programs, but I can tell you that many Masa alumni on campus really do become advocates, and they are Jewish leaders on campus, mostly because they just want to and because of the experience that they had. So I can tell you that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to develop this relationship with Israel and with your Judaism at a really important, time in your life. And the final piece I want to address about gap year, and this is really important, is I want to talk about some of the reasons you might want to take a gap year. And I want to address it because people very often think that there are bad reasons and they're almost embarrassed. And sometimes they're embarrassed and they feel bad about why they want to take a gap year. And I want to let you know right now, there are no bad reasons to take a gap year. But here are some of the things that I encounter all the time. And these are all good reasons to take one. First of all, that it was always part of the plan. If you always knew you wanted to take a gap year, you don't have to apologize for it. It wasn't a bad thing. Feel good about it and don't second guess yourself. Just say, okay, I want to take a gap year. It's fine. Next is that Jewish experience piece. More and more there is concern on the part of some students and definitely parents about anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism on campus. And students are feeling like they want to have this piece of their Judaism sort of worked with, like that you get a background and that you have what to say, that you're not feeling like you don't have control over situations. You want to understand things from your own point of view. It's become a really important piece of the gap year for students wanting to address this issue, to feel prepared and feel comfortable in their Jewish skin when they get to a campus. So that's a great reason to take a gap year because you're not going to have another opportunity to do it. And then hearing it's a thing to do. It used to be there was all this FOMO that if students took a gap year, that they were going to miss out on what their peers were doing on campus and get left behind. Now it's a little bit of, oh, I'm hearing people are doing a gap year. So I think that is a really good reason because they're hearing good things. You're hearing good things about gap year, and that's important. Now there are some of those negative things that people apologize for. I want to address them. First of all, people are unsure about their next steps. And that is absolutely a good reason why you should consider a gap year. It doesn't mean that you're in a terrible place. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. It means that, college is what you're supposed to do, but you're not really sure why, and you don't really have a clear vision of what that's supposed to be about. Having a real life experience can really contribute to making the choice when you're ready and reaching more success when you do. And not having a clear passion for a particular school or for a career. So if you don't know what school you want to go to, you've just heard there's this school or that school, but none of them are particularly speaking to you. And then you don't know what you want to do in college, but I'm going to tell you as a college counselor that I know that 50% of students who apply to college apply undecided. So it's not outside the norm to not know what you want to do when you apply to college. But the important thing to know is that if you feel like that is something that you should have a focus on when you go to college campus, and a lot of people do, they feel like they want to know a little bit of where they want to go, what direction they want to take. Having the real life experience makes all the difference. And this next thing, that if you don't get into your first choice school, I'm telling you now, you're juniors, know that there are seniors who decide to take a gap year because they don't get into their first choice school. And I'm going to tell you why that's not such a terrible thing. The reason is because if you have your heart set on something and you are so focused on accomplishing this one goal and it doesn't happen and you feel bad about your choices, what you need to do is you need to recalibrate. And students, very often, they take a gap year and they sometimes reapply to those schools while they're on their gap year. And yes, some of those students do get into their first choice from their gap year, some don't. But then there are many students who don't get into their first choice. They go on their gap year and they decide to apply to completely different schools. It's not as important to them anymore. And they get some perspective. And that's really healthy. It's about living life and learning from your experience. But the final thing you really need to know is that COVID effects are real, and it really is affecting gap year. We are hearing from students, parents, educators, how unprepared students are. We're feeling unprepared for this next step. And we're also hearing from the program organizers for the first time from Israel. We're hearing all the time how these program organizers have never seen students who are so unsure and lack confidence in ways that students previously did. You, as high school students, for the past 2 years, have not had the academic, social, or extracurricular opportunities that students have been having for years. This is unprecedented, and there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of depression, and it is taking its toll. And there's really no better time to go on a gap year than these years now because of COVID, because having these real life experiences are giving you skills outside the classroom, real life skills where you can breathe and feel good about yourself. It's really important. And this final thing, one of my favorite statistics is also from Gap Year Association. It's actually pre-COVID. It came out in 2020. Over a third, 35% of all Gap Year participants chose to take a gap year because of burnout. And even before COVID, because there's the COVID burnout, there were other burnouts, and you know what that is. It's SATs and ACTs and APs and the college application process itself. It's exhausting, and it's amazing to have this once in a lifetime. It really is this time period between high school and college to take a break and just figure out who you are and not have any of those other responsibilities that have been weighing on you through, your high school career or what you're going to have to face in college. So that's a bit about Gap Year. It's a lot, and we can address more questions at the end. There is going to be time for Q&A. And now I'm very quickly going to go through the Masa piece. So Masa is an organization that is half funded by the Jewish Agency and half by the government of Israel. It was founded with its mission to bring young Jews from the diaspora to Israel for long-term immersive experiences. These are for ages 16 through 35. These are programs that are 4 months or longer. We're an incredibly global operation with offices all over the world. And there are programs for the college academics, college study abroad space, and then post-college internship, but we're just focusing on Gap Year. Gap Year, there are around 12 programs for North Americans. Some of them are full year, some of them are a semester, and they're going to offer these types of like tracks that you can take: academic, volunteering, and career. That's the most important way to organize the year and think about it. And finally, you should know that outside of the individual programming that you're getting on on the specific programs, there's a lot of extra Masa programming that we're offering as well. There's special events throughout the year that are great, that people love. And also we've started the Masa Impact and Leadership Center. And this is for Gap Year students. Over the course of the year, there's conferences and workshops to help you process the information that you're receiving, so that you can use it when you get to campus in the start of your post gap year. Now, no matter what individual program you're going to do, and we're going to go over those quickly after this, I want to let you know what every single Masa program is going to offer. Masa doesn't start gap year programs, we don't run them, but we oversee them and we approve the ones that are sort of under our umbrella and we offer to you. So you know that they're meeting certain standards. The things that we're offering are all trips around Israel. Travel's a big part of the year. You're going to see the country top to bottom. There's going to be an Ulpan where you're going to learn Hebrew. You don't need to know Hebrew to go on any of these programs. They're English language based. The next thing you need to know is these are not vacations and these are not trips. These are long-term immersive experiences. And Masa, we say you're going to live like a local, and you do. You're going to be immersed in the Israeli society in which you find yourself, whether that's on a kibbutz or it's in the heart of Tel Aviv. You're living side by side with Israelis, which is why it's such an impactful year. And the other reason it's such an impactful year is this global network of friends that you make. They are going to be friends for a lifetime. It's the best part of the year. You'll have people to visit all over the world. It's really exciting. The practical pieces, there's housing and medical insurance that are included at levels you'll be comfortable with. I want to mention security because Masa is in charge of security for all the programs in partnership with the programs themselves. They will have a liaison that works directly with our director of security. So this is about security, traditional, keeping you out of harm's way, but it's also health security because all of the COVID issues were handled by Masa. So there's a lot that we take care of. Then there's guidance in the form of amazing staff who are going to be there to help you through this year. And then if you go on one of our gap year programs, you are automatically eligible for funding in the form of universal grants and need-based scholarships. So there's a lot of programs. How do you decide? We're not going to spend too much time on it, but I want to help focus you a little bit to, start thinking about ways that will maybe help you choose your program. First of all, there are the academic programs. Those are ones that you can earn college credit. They're a soft landing to college. Some students know they want to, be in that space, keeping the brain going at a certain level. They're career internship programs that can be very focused in the tech startup world, or they can be just a track in a more general program, a track that's focused on internships. There's community service volunteering programs that sometimes have a social justice space. The traditional programs are the ones that do a little bit of everything. Then there's special interest ones. They can be very niche, like doing lacrosse, soccer, or the youth movements, but there's also a mechina. I want to let you know what those are. We have a few of those. And that's what Israelis do in the year before they enter the army after they graduate from high school. It's sort of like a gap year. They're about leadership development, community building, travel around the country. If you want to deep dive into Israeli culture, that's the program for you. And now I'm not going to spend time on all the individual programs. There isn't time to do all that. There are too many of them. And we could really get into the weeds if we start talking about what goes on all of them. So if you are interested, I want you to contact me after tonight's program. And you can ask me and I can connect you up with the program organizers so you can speak directly to them. But here are the programs in those categories. You probably recognize some of the names. So I just want you to get used to them and see what they are and say, oh, I didn't know that was a Masa program. Masa offers almost every single gap year in Israel. There are just a couple that we don't, but pretty much all of them. Here are the career internship opportunities, the service volunteer programs, and here are the special interests. You see, we have quite a few. So that was a lot of information. It was really quick. Thank you. I'm going to stop screen sharing now, and I'm going to look at the Q&A and see what questions we have. Okay, when do you apply? Okay, so, and I also see someone asked about my email. I'm hoping it's in the chat. Let me just check. Yes, my email and my Calendly link are in the chat. So when do you apply? The process with Masa is this. First, you find your program. You find your program, you apply, you get accepted there, and then you apply to Masa, which is mostly about filling out an application and getting the funding. The Masa piece is not really as important to this application. To this process in terms of timing. What you need to know is that the programs are not like a college application in terms of their applications. It's like if you don't apply by November 1st, you're not getting into the college. You can't be considered early admission or early decision. It's not like that. They're really like rolling admission. But the issue is that if the program fills up and there's no spot, then you can't be considered anymore. The programs have been filling up earlier and earlier. They're really getting very popular. Some of them fill up as early as March 1st. So what I would say to you is you reach out to the program. The programs have deadlines that are incentives for you, but they also have financial incentives. So some of them offer discounts or free add-ons and things like that. So I would start early. I would make it part of the fall process. You can even start over the summer as well, because the programs don't run over the summer. So they're also really willing to speak to you if you want to talk about options. But I would get started now, and I would say make the decision as early in the year as possible, and there's more options for you. Let me see some other questions because we have 5 minutes left. Okay. Oh, it says the chat is disabled here. You should be putting your questions in the Q&A section, not the chat. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, yes, seminary, Masa. So there are gap year programs that I oversee, the gap year programs. Then there's the Jewish study space, which is yeshivas and seminaries. And part of the reason that that isn't just in the gap year space is because you can go to yeshivas and seminaries all the way up to age 30. But yes, Masa oversees and offers almost all of the yeshiva and seminary programs that are available in Israel. The funding that goes with them. So the universal grants, which this year and last year, they were $200 for the universal grants, $800 for the academic programs where you earn college credit. The yeshivas and seminaries do not receive the universal grant, but most of them, you are able to apply for the need-based scholarships of up to $3,000. And you would do that at the time that you fill out the Masa application. So I think I've answered a few of the questions. Let's see what else. Right, and if you are applying for accepted, no, you are not obligated to go. You might lose a deposit that you place, depending on how when you decided in the process. But no, you are never obligated to go. And we don't have any mini books of the programs. Obviously, you remember something. They change too much all the time, so we don't have any mini books. Our website is really the source for all of this. And it's also, someone asked, how do you find out about the programs? That's also good to know. I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm able to put this in the chat, but you guys aren't able to put it in the chat. I'm going to put in our website, which is masaisrael.org. And there you can go. You can research all the programs are all there. You can sign up to speak with a program advisor. You can also sign up to speak directly with the program organizers too. So you can do a lot through the website. You can also contact me. I see we're running out of time. But if you want to start the process of searching for programs, definitely reach out to me or go to the website. That's really the best place to start. And I think, can I sign up on the Masa application for Young Judea? The process is you go to Young Judea first. You sign up for Young Judea if you know you want to do it. It's an amazing program. It's actually one of our most popular programs. We have already, like for next year, which if you're a junior, you would be the year after. Next year, we already have 220 to 230 kids signed up. You apply to Young Judea first. And then after that, you would apply to Masa. So that's how it works.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, especially to Sheryl Korelitz for this great information, this wonderful presentation. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide. We encourage you to look at the schedule and sign up for many more sessions that are happening tonight. You'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings at strivescan.com/Jewish Student Fair. Thank you so much. Have a great night.